my name is Donna Wachowski, and I'm one of the educators here with Bywater. I also have with me Sarah, who is our newest educator at Bywater. If you haven't met Sarah yet, she is in the Maryland area. And then we also have Andrew, another amazing educator here, who is in Iowa. And then Kelly, who is a former educator and has now moved over to our sales department to keep them all in line and do some exciting things with our partners, has graciously came in to give us a hand and kind of help herd the cats a little bit. So we're so happy to have everyone here. This is being recorded. We will be sharing the link to everyone that has been registered. So you'll get an email with a link to all of those. We also do go ahead and put these on the website too. So you'll be able to access that there along with all of the blog posts that we did. So, all right. So we had a poll up. What's your favorite Halloween candy? And it looks like peanut butter cups was the strong favorite. So,
as it should be.
And we have somebody from Hershey, Pennsylvania. So they are probably, hopefully they voted. Is there a Hershey candy in that list?
There is not. But that's okay. So just as a reminder, if you are going to go ahead and put anything in the chat, please make sure that you use the everyone drop down so that everybody can see this and we can share this. You can either put your questions as we go through in the chat or in the Q&A session or section. We're watching both of those, so we'll be able to reply with any questions that you have. And then we also go ahead and keep track of all those questions and post those on the site afterwards also. So lots and lots of great resources. So who is excited? This is great, right? So looking forward to that one. Oh, well, see, it didn't say Reese's, it's a peanut butter cup. So, that was the generic. But anyways, okay, so we are going to go ahead and start off with public services and Opac. And I'm going to share my screen, make sure I get the right one shared. And away we go, folks. Okay. So one of the first things to talk about is bug 20936, which is hold history for patrons in the Opac. We are all very excited about this one. This was sponsored by the Northeast Kansas Library System, NECLS, so huge shout out for this incredible enhancement. It works off of two system preferences, off of a system preference. That one, the system preference that is added is being set as usual to no. Again, with system preferences, we set them so that it does not change current behavior. You have to go ahead and take a look at it to change it if you want to. So it's Opac holds history. And again, by default, it is off. It's a simple on or off, allow or don't allow. So we have it set to allow. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow patrons to see their past and present holds. This has been a common request. Holds get marked as fulfilled or waiting or canceled. Patrons have the ability to go ahead and sort through those and see what they have, all of those sorts of great things. So I'm going to go ahead and log in to the Opac. Okay. And so now there will be a new tab on the left-hand side called Holds History. When the patron clicks on that, you'll go ahead and see all of your holds. You can have them ordered by date, by title, or by author. So they've got some initial sort options right there. I can also sort them by any of these columns. So perhaps I want to sort them by the date that I placed the hold. I can see if the status is pending, which means the hold's been placed, but it hasn't been captured yet. If it's waiting, means it's at the library waiting for me to go and get it. And then canceled means that for whatever reason, it is no longer available. And that could be either the patron canceled or it expired and the staff canceled it, whatever the case may be. So really exciting to see that. Patrons do have the ability to go ahead and use a search filter too. So if they have a lot of things that they see, they can go ahead and type in a couple of characters and it will filter those out. And then they can also go ahead and export these into whatever format they need to and print those out. It does print out really nicely. So that's a great functionality too for patrons if they do need that. So that is our new functionality, the holds history for patrons. Holds history does track regardless of if the patron is keeping their reading history or not. That is kept completely independent from that. Kelly and Jesse did an amazing Monday Minutes on that. So if you haven't watched, go ahead and take a look. But remember, this is completely independent of that patron's reading history. So that's an important thing to remember. Patrons, once it's turned on, currently do not have the option to opt out of it. So if your patrons are really concerned about privacy, that might be something you want to have a discussion about before you turn that on. Okay. Staff still cannot see this if intranet reading history is turned off. So if your staff currently cannot see patron search history, they cannot see the hold history either. So just kind of be aware of this one. This is purely for the patrons so that they can see that information as you go through there. Okay, so really exciting. Definitely kind of talk that one through. I think a lot of patrons are going to love that possibility. So we have another one that is bug 18989, system preference to allow bibs to display if all items have been hidden via Opac hidden items. So yeah, lots of repetitive words in that one. But as it stands right now, if I'm using Opac hidden items, and everything that I have in that bib record is included in my Opac hidden items section, that bib record will not display. Some libraries want it like that, some don't. So what they can do is there's now a new system preference. Opac hidden items hides records, and you have the choice as to whether you want the bib record to be hidden or not when all items are hidden by Opac hidden items. So again, this is kind of one of those things, like if I only have one copy of it and I'm hiding anything that's damaged and this item goes damaged, do I want my patrons to still be able to see that there's a bib there, even though there's no items attached to it, but it will be back there. So again, just one of those neat little things that kind of helps make Koha a little bit better on everything that it is doing. Okay, so I scurried by it real quick because I didn't want to spoil the surprise, but when you log in now on the Opac, you have some additional items here in your user summary. The one that I really like is this messages one. So if you have posted a message to that patron's account, either through the Opaque Note or through the messages patron interface, that will go ahead and show here that the patron can see they have messages. So that's a nice little feature too to have that added. I'm going to go ahead and go into my account. Okay, so some of the other things that are kind of neat in my holds functionality, if I have placed an item level hold, I will now see that barcode attached to that item. So I can see that I've requested a specific item, not just a general bib level hold like this one is. So again, kind of a neat thing that patrons can see if they did a bib level or an item level hold for any of our users that do that. On your checkouts tab, again, we've added some functionalities in here. You do have that search functionality that I can go ahead and filter. So if I'm just looking for, books about spies to see what I've got checked out right now, I can go ahead and take a look at that. I can also, again, sort. So I can say, okay, sort it by what's due first. I want to read them alphabetically, whatever the case may be. I can go ahead and do all of these neat functions here. I can go ahead and print those all out. So again, nice added little functionality to help your patrons, especially those heavy users, to get better control of what we're looking at. Likewise, in my checkout history, I have the ability to go ahead and search here too. So again, I can go ahead and take a search here, figure out what I was looking for, and then again, I can go ahead and export those to CSV or print those out or anything like that. So again, you'll see this as we continue to go through Koha. We're adding this to more and more places just to help improve the functionality and the ease for people to be able to use it. So excited about all of those sorts of things in there. So that's kind of fun. The last one I want to show you is with our patron search history. Now, I know some libraries keep patron search histories and some don't. There we go. So if you are keeping your patrons search history, then you do have in your search history box now. So again, the tab on the left-hand side, I do have, again, those functionalities here that I can go ahead and search my search history, and then I can go ahead and export, print, all of those sorts of things. This is really handy for folks that are looking for things over an ongoing basis. I know a lot of academics do keep this search history for students that are doing reports and things like that, projects that can come in here and kind of rerun those searches. But for instance, if I know I had done some searches on spies, but I don't remember which one was a better result or whatever, I can just go ahead and hit SP I'll see I have a search on spy, which gave me 329 results, and spies, which gave me 218 results. And then again, since it is that search history, I can go ahead and click and rerun that search also. So again, kind of a handy way just to kind of compare searches, see what that one was. We all have some searches that are a little bit difficult to find. So this is a neat functionality to be able to kind of track those down. So, okay. Next up, we're going to hop back over to something that's kind of fun too, and it goes with both places. It's another system preference because it's not an upgrade unless we add a whole bunch of system preferences and a couple more columns somewhere. So another system preference, and this one is called reference. I can spell. Not for loan, so NFL statuses. Wow, no. We'll just go with that. Okay, reference not for loan statuses. And it tells you to list the following not for loan statuses as available for reference in the Opac. And again, this is only in the Opac. It doesn't change the display in the staff client, in the staff interface. But what it does now is instead of saying that reference copy is not available, even though it was available in the library, it now changes that display. So I've put my statuses of 1 and 2 as those are items that are not for loan, but are available for reference. So when I come into the Opac as a patron, and I'm looking for the World Almanac, I can see here on this very first screen, very first result, that I have a copy available for loan, a copy available for reference, and then one that's in processing. So kind of a neat way to be able to designate to your patrons that, no, you can't check it out. It's not for loan, but you can come into the library and use it for reference purposes. So I really like that one. It's really kind of a neat functionality to add to that. Okay, another really exciting one that y'all are gonna love. Any of the libraries that work with holds for patrons, one of the ongoing issues is, and it's a common request of, how do I remind my patrons that they need to come and get their stuff? Okay, so there is a new cron job and a new notice that sends holds reminders. Again, Kelly and Jesse have done a Monday Minutes on this. The notice is called hold reminder, and it's your waiting hold reminder. So you will want to go ahead and come in here and edit this and just say, hey, your stuff's here, come and get it by X date. But what it will do is it asks the cron job when we set it up, says how many days after the initial hold, after the initial waiting period starts, do you want to send the reminder? Which libraries or branches do you want it to be used with? And then a couple of other things like, should it come by SMS or email? By default, it will be sent to your patrons according to their patron messaging preferences for their hold filled notice. So again, kind of a fantastic addition. If you are one of our partners and want to do this, go ahead and open a ticket, and we'll be ready to work with you on as soon as we get you upgraded to 2105. So that'll be really an exciting opportunity. And I want to give a special shout out to Hotchkiss School. They're the ones that sponsored this. And it's just going to be one of those really great things for everyone to be able to use. So that Monday Minutes was sent out on October 4th, if you didn't get a chance to see that one. But yeah, that one I'm very excited about. I think a lot of other folks are going to be too. So I know I ran through those really quickly. Any questions or anything I need to go back and look through? Again, with all of these that we do with our What's New, there was several hundred things to choose from as far as what we should cover. So we pulled out all of the ones that we thought were most important to y'all to be able to see. Everything else, though, we do have listed in our blog posts, where we go ahead and pull out all of the things that you need to know about from the admin section and do a blog post on that. And then we do individual blog posts on those things that we think are really important or that people are going to be referring back to again and again. So we have those instructions ready to go. The Opac Holds Monday Minutes was Kelly.
I will find it and put it in chat.
Okay.
I
want to say it was this week, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think it was this Monday. So, all right. Excellent. So after that quick overview and quick run through, I'm going to go ahead. When's the upgrade going to roll out? We already have our early adopters on it. So they've been going through and putting those in, bugs and finding things in that. We are looking to do the bulk of the upgrade starting November 1st. So it'll be coming really quickly, and we'll start letting people know as far as, when you are scheduled the way that we typically do, where we put that notice to their to your OPAC. So yeah, George, we'll go ahead and get those blog posts in chat too. The messages that show for the patrons, those are purely the patron messages. It's not the ones that staff use for reminders and things like that. It is only the OPAC note, which shows in the patron's record on the OPAC. And when you're adding messages, it's only the ones that are chosen for that patron. So under that add message, if I choose the OPAC option, those are the only notes that show, okay? So yeah, you can do, an Opaque note for that. So I don't think I have any on this patron, but let me show you back on James's account. So on his summary page, this is the Opaque note, which one is the one that you go into their account and edit. And then this is a message that goes ahead and shows. So again, these are only the ones that you designate OPAC for. And those are going to be the only ones that patrons do see there. Okay. You got to have fun, Stephanie, All right. So I will now go ahead and turn this over to Andrew, right? All right.
Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so I've got some Opac, or sorry, not Opac and public services, patrons and circs things to show you. Starting with, again, something about holds, and this is a couple of bugs that work together. The first is 25534, add ability to specify and store a reason when canceling a hold, which sounds really dry, but actually I'm really excited about. So there are several parts here. This is one that I did a whole big blog post about setting up because there are a lot of moving pieces. The first thing I'm going to do is head to a patron and to their holds. And we can see right from here, my patron has a couple of holds. This first one, do you mind if I cancel? I could from here say I want to cancel this hold, and that hasn't changed. But down here, we've got a new little drop down to pick a reason why I'm canceling this hold. I will see the same general thing if I head over to the title itself. If I'm here on the hold list on the bib and I try to cancel it, I'll get a little pop-up that asks for a hold reason or a cancellation reason. And likewise, since this is a pending hold and is currently showing over on the holds to pull page, I could cancel from here and give a reason. So I'm going to say, sure, this is damaged. We cancel the hold. So first moving part here is that reason. That gets set up in administration and then authorized values. Hold cancellation. So if your system contains an authorized value hold cancellation that has at least one option in it, when you cancel a hold, you'll be presented with that choice of reason to apply to your canceled hold. You have control over what this list is. We put a few sort of, well, a couple jokes and maybe a real one in there. But whatever list of reasons you want to put in here, that gets recorded in the hold that you've canceled. So then you can report on that later if you want to count how many holds were canceled for this reason versus that reason. So that's good data trail right off the bat. The second bug in my list on the agenda, bug 12656, adds a nice, again, statistical option here we have a lot of holds getting canceled by the expired hold cancellation cron job. Probably more holds canceled that way than ever manually. These are just holds that have aged out. That second bug allows you to tell the cron job to always apply a specific reason. So here I have a reason of expired. I could make the cron job mark all of those with the reason this was canceled because it reached its expiration date. Let me grab the chat here because I see it popped up a few things. Oh, everybody just liked the general feature. Cool. All right, so that's the first part. I have recorded a reason why this hold got canceled. But that is actually only the beginning, because also, if I go over back to my patron who had this hold and have a look at their notices, I have a notice that was sent to my patron to tell them, dear patron, your hold got canceled for this reason. So this is the second exciting part of this. If you have hold cancellation reasons in your system and you apply a reason when you cancel the hold, Koha will look to see if you have a notice in place to send to your patron. That'd live over in tools, notices and slips. This notice will not exist in your system by default. You will have to make it new, or of course, ask us to do that for you. Please open a ticket if you want to set this up. It's a little involved. But I have a new notice in here called hold cancellation. So the same code as my authorized value. And whenever I cancel a hold, this sends to my patron as an email. And we have this example notice text in that blog post. And it grabs the patron name and the title of the book they had a hold on, all that normal stuff. I'm also really excited about this part because we're storing that reason. We can make the notice different based on what reason you provided. So in this case, I said, if the hold I canceled was canceled because the item was damaged, add in a little note here to say, if we order a new copy, we'll put a hold on it for you. So any specific messaging around that cancellation reason, we can make your notice differ there. So again, that's kind of a lot of setup. There's an authorized value and a notice, but once that's all in place, it's really automated. It takes care of itself. Question we got on Wednesday, this is not yet a patron messaging preference. If you have this turned on, Koha will try to send this as an email to every one of your patrons when they cancel a hold. Coming soon, it will be a patron messaging preference, so then patrons can opt out of it specifically if they don't want to get this message. That's a bug that's in process right now. I've been getting emails about it this morning as it goes through QA. So that was my first two bugs about hold cancellation. My next thing is also about holds, but a little bit more, I don't know. It's a different end of holds. I didn't have an end for that sentence, sorry. And this is about the, Trevor asked a question. Will that bug be rolled out when it's ready, or will we need to wait until the next upgrade? That's always a good question. Generally speaking, if something is a bug fix, if it's fixing something that's broken, we will backport it through, back through old versions of Koha, and it will get on your site soon. If it's an enhancement, if it's adding a new feature, we generally don't backport those, and you will need to wait for the next upgrade. Off the top of my head, I'm guessing that patron messaging preference will be treated as a new feature and will not be backported. But I have not officially asked the devs for an answer on that, so we can confirm that and put it in our Q&A notes. Okay. Yeah, sure. And that patron messaging preference should then let it generate as an SMS message instead of an email, which right now it is just email. All right, so my next bug is about the, I forget what this is called exactly. The decrease loan high holds system preference. This is a system preference used to make your loan periods on very popular items shorter. If you turn it on, you can say, for example, like we've done here, if my title has more than one hold over the number of holdable items on the record, then reduce the loan period to 7 days. So in my pretend library, normally books go out for 2 weeks at a time. But if we've got a lot of holds on that title, we want it to go out for 1 week instead of 2. This is a good system preference. It works well. But up until now, until 2105, it's always been applied globally. All items, all checkouts follow this same rule. And that is not so flexible, especially if you consider, in my pretend library, we're checking books out for 14 days, and it makes sense to limit them down to 7 when they get popular, but maybe our pretend DVDs go out for 7 days to start with, so they really want to get shortened further. So good news in 2105. Thanks to actually the company Catalyst in New Zealand, they're sort of a Bywater equivalent. They sponsored this development. Now we still have this system preference that turns this whole high holds thing on. But if I jump into my circ and fine rules, we have a new column in here because everybody wanted this table to get bigger.
New column, yay!
Yeah, but new column adds complexity, but also adds flexibility, which is great. We have a new column here, decreased loan period for high holds. So my system preference still gets applied globally, except for this number of days. So if I look at my rules, I don't have many. Most checkouts are just going to follow that normal system preference and say, if I have a lot of holds, drop me from 14 to 7. But I've put in a special rule here to say, if this is a kid with a book and they have a lot of holds, don't give them 7 days, give them only 2. I don't know why I'm being mean to children. I think it's just reflexive. But because I have set that specifically at the kids in books level, if I go back to my patron who has a waiting hold, just grab that barcode.
Andrew, while you're grabbing that barcode, we had somebody raise their hand.
Oh.
And so since people can't talk in our webinar, please, when you raise your hand, just go ahead and put it in the chat what you have a question about, and we're happy to help you.
Yep. But hand is good. Hand lets me know to
and maybe we're like, whoop, whoop, this is the hands we're doing. Like we're super excited, or we could be clapping. But anyways.
So at checkout, Koha sees that I have enough holds on this title that it should decrease the loan period, and it grabs the 2-day value rather than the 7-day value, following the general Koha idea of get the most specific circ rule you can. So a nice increase in flexibility here. George asks, now I'm wondering how badly Koha would explode if the decreased high holds number was higher than the normal loan period. I tried that. It unfortunately didn't work. Koha was too smart. And when I say it didn't work, I mean, when I put a high value for the decreased loan period, popular books didn't check out for longer. They checked out.
I think George is wanting to explode his Koha is what it is. And he was trying to find a way to do it.
I've also been unsuccessful, George, in putting negative rental amounts on items to pay patrons to check them out. Just unfortunately.
I would like to say Andrew does his homework well on these in preparation for questions such as George's. So high five to Andrew for covering the bases.
I'm with George on that. I want to make things do weird, unexpected stuff. And I like that George has also tried negative rental fees. So actually, I almost jumped an item in my agenda. That was our high holds thing. Next up, still about holds, this is a question of non-priority holds. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and check this item out. And if I go and look at Nita's checkouts, here's the book I just checked out, that I know has holds on it. And as we all know, Koha will not let you renew something that has holds on it. Except, dun, 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 we have a new thing. All right, let me jump over to this bib and look at those two holds. So these are blocking my renewal. We know that. I'm going to cancel them both real quick. Not going to bother to put reasons on there.
But I really wanted that book.
Oh, well, no. Prefer not to give you your book. And if I go back to Nita then, and I reload this page, and I remembered to check the box I should have checked years ago. Okay, I can renew again. Yay, that's what we expected. But here's the fun part. We'll put Donna back on the list. She can have it someday. But I'm going to call her hold a non-priority hold, which means she goes into the hold list. She's still there. She's still first in line. She's going to get this book first when Nita brings it back. But because it is a non-priority hold, back on Nita's account, she is not blocked from renewal. This hold sits here, will still fill when the item comes back, but allows patron renewal. So this is intended for something like at checkout, we see that this book is damaged. It needs to go back to technical services when it comes back. But so we want to put a hold on it to make sure it gets there, but we really don't want to make our patron have the book for less time just because we need to repair it when it comes back. So we can make that a non-priority hold, let Nita keep this book as long as she wants, and just know that we're going to get it. That sounds bad. Technical services will receive this book when it is returned.
I have to say, Andrew, I am so excited about this one. It's been a common request from our partners to be able to do this. And you're probably already going this direction anyways, but if someone else places a hold after me, what happens?
So if I place a hold for myself here and I do not make that a non-priority hold, I'm slotted in the list after you there. But since there is at least one non-priority hold in that list, then I am blocked from renewal. But note, non-priority is a little misleading here because you are, Donna, still first in line before me. You're going to get this book before I do.
So we could actually use, I was going to say non-priority with toggle lowest priority, and then I will never, ever get the book.
Yeah. I don't know that this little arrow over here, toggle lowest priority, gets used a ton, but it makes a lot of sense with a non-priority hold. Yeah. If I take Donna's non-priority hold and set it to lowest priority, that has then told Koha, Donna should always be last in line. As many new holds as I put on here. Boom, throw one for Sarah too. Donna remains last, and also Donna's hold will not block renewals. So that's very much like the library wants this book someday, but we're not going to take it out of any patron's hand in the meantime. Yeah, sorry, Donna, you never get to read this book.
Well, you know, we would get those patrons that don't want to be rushed reading a book.
Sure.
So put me last on the list. And when it's gotten off the hot list where everybody wants it, I want to be on that. I want to be on it so no one goes below me. So I have to return it. So it's very nice.
Yeah, really nice, just easy, patron-friendly feature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think non-blocking hold is better, Stephanie, than non-priority.
Barbara asked, how would this interact with club holds? You know, do we have any clubs in here?
I don't know.
Dude, I don't know that we have any clubs set up. Let me check real quick. So then I don't quite know for sure then.
No, Mary, patrons do not have that option. This is purely for staff. They're the only ones that have access to set the non-priority hold.
Yeah, I mean, we just frankly don't expect patrons to want to make themselves non-priority holds.
Which actually, though, that's a good question. You know, should that be something that patrons have the ability to do on their own? Or what chaos would it cause if we had 12 people that all said they're non-priority and fight over who doesn't get the book first?
There is not a Monday Minutes on non-priority holds, although that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
make a
We'll,
funny face at Kelly to remind her.
we'll ask Andrew to join us.
Fair enough. Just real quick, I tried to place a club hold on this title, and that does not give me the option to make all of my club holds non-priority. It's an interesting idea. Again, like I could see that as a future development. But so far, this doesn't know how to play with club holds.
But in theory, I could place them for the club and then edit them one by one.
Yeah.
But if I was going to do that, I might as well just look them up one by one too. But yeah.
Trevor expressed some trepidation about the number of questions he'll receive about this. There is not a way to just turn this feature off, but we could absolutely hide that little checkbox if you really want this to just not appear, if you think it will confuse your staff and not be helpful. It's always an option. All right, speaking of confusing, I'm going to close a few windows.
So Kim commented that when they asked for it, they thought about things like staff setting things aside for cataloging purposes, stuff like that. So kind of that idea that we all kind of went with is like technical services is probably going to be the group that uses this the most. I need it at some point whenever it's ready, stuff like that. So yeah.
And Kim, thanks for piping up. Our notes did not reflect that this was an enhancement that was sponsored by Vocal. And as you say that, I remember that it was. So thanks, Vocal.
Oh, thanks,
for making this
Vocal.
cool thing happen. We'll update our notes. Okay, my next thing gets a little involved and I'm going to move kind of quickly through it, but it's another one where I have a whole blog post about it. This is this new bug 23091, add options to charge new or restore forgiven overdues when a lost item is returned. This takes a little bit of a Koha history lesson. A few upgrades ago, it was possible through setting things just right to make it so that if you're charging both overdue fines and lost fees for items, you could set your Koha up so that a patron would owe you an overdue fine, but then if the item went to lost, that overdue fine gets forgiven as the lost fee gets charged. So you owe the lost fee instead of the overdue. And then when the lost item comes back, the lost fee goes away and the overdue fine comes back. So your patron is always going to owe you either the overdue fine or the lost fee, but never both. So that was possible, but it actually was possible in error. It was a loophole that libraries had found and used and liked, but then it got fixed. So now we have made this actually a feature. Koha officially knows how to make it so that overdue fines go away when an item gets lost, but come back if the lost fee is restored. Sorry, if the lost fee is forgiven. Tripped right on the last hurdle there. Okay, so this starts over in your circ and fine rules. That's not entirely true. Let's take one step further back. Probably more accurately starts with a couple of system preferences. When lost, charge replacement fee, and when lost, forgive fine. So if you are charging overdue fines and you're charging replacement fees, and you're forgiving those overdue fines when the replacement fees are charged, this feature might be of use to you. If any one of those things is not true of your library, this doesn't apply to you at all. If you don't charge fines or you don't charge replacement costs. But we have those set, charge and forgive. And I'm going to grab a patron. Magnus has an overdue book. Bad Kitty for President was due last week. He owes me $7 in overdue fines. You can see that here in his account. Say $7 accruing fine on this overdue book. Good. Trevor says they've been doing this manually. Krista asks, is there a way to have this apply to a single item type? If that item type is the only thing you have fines for in your overdue fines for in your circ rules, then this will work for you. Yeah. It would not work if you charge fines on multiple item types, but only want one of those item types to allow the fine to come back. That sentence mostly made sense. Okay, good. It have made sense to Kristen as well. All right. Okay, so Magnus has this overdue book. He comes in and tells us that he has lost it. So I take my book and I mark it lost. And based on my system preferences, I reload this page. Magnus no longer owes us the $7. That overdue fine got forgiven. Instead, he owes us $13.99 for this lost fee. If I click over to his transactions, I can see that's his overdue fine that got forgiven. Now he owes us for the lost item. That brings us to your circ and fine rules. Scroll down a little bit. I've got lost item fee refund on return policy. This has existed for a long time, but it used to only have two options. Do you refund the lost fee or do you not refund the lost fee? Now we have four options. Refund the lost fee, don't refund the lost fee. And then two new ones. When we are refunding the lost fee, do we want to either restore the overdue fine or charge a new overdue fine? This is a good distinction. Restore means don't do any new math. Just go back and see what we thought the patron owed us before for the overdue and bring that number back. Charge a new overdue fine means figure out what the fine would be if the item had never gone lost, had just gotten returned today. That one makes me a little nervous, to be honest, because it's easy to imagine a patron who lost something a long time ago, a year, 2 years ago, and suddenly returns it. And if you don't have overdue fines capped at some amount, that could be $1 a day for very many days that suddenly they would owe you. So I'm leaving this set to restore a new overdue fine, which means,
so you, sorry, Andrew, you said you're going to restore a new overdue fine.
Thank you.
I'm confused enough on this as it is. So.
I'm going to restore my overdue fine. I am not going to make a new one.
Okay.
So when I check my item in, Koha says we've put a refund on the account. And Magnus is back to owing me $7 again. And I go back into his transactions. That lost item got refunded. He doesn't owe me $13.99 anymore. And the $7 overdue charge has come back. Koha voided the credit that had originally forgiven that. So we've swapped our fines. We've brought our overdue back. He owes us the $7, nice and clean and easy. Again, that's a number of moving pieces and a good thorough blog post walking through it all.
I know folks are going to love that. We've got a couple of folks already that like, this is awesome. Circ staff are going to be so happy.
Yeah, it's absolutely a thing a lot of libraries have liked. And this is a cleaner, safer implementation of it than the sort of loophole that folks have been using before. I've got two more in here and they're both short, easy ones. The first is, oops, I'll go back to Nita. This is issuer should be recorded and visible in patron circulation history, which means if your patron is saving their reading history, which Nita is, and staff is able to see it, which we are. Oh, except somebody flipped the switch. Oh no. We're normally able to see it. Hold on.
I think, Andrew, I think that was me because Kelly and I were trying something earlier. Sorry.
Oh, it's fine. Flip that switch back. Okay, now in Nita's circulation history, this has always listed all the things that patron has checked out in the past, but we've added a new column, checked out by. Who did this checkout? This makes me as a support person very happy. That's a really common question. This checkout was weird. Can you dig back through the action logs and figure out who did it? This makes this is not exactly storing new data. We were storing that data before, but it's storing it in a much easier place. It's right in the issues table. It's super easy to get in a report. It's super easy to see right here in the patron reading history. Sorry to show you not the best part. It should show here in the item as well. There's a bug file to make that display here. That'll be easy. It does not show to patrons. I suppose theoretically it could be made to do so, but nobody quite thought that was a great idea right out of the gate.
Well, and there was a question when we did this Wednesday about how does it know what staff member? This is by login. So this is kind of another reason why you can and maybe should have individual logins for your staff members. So you really do know who exactly did the checkout. If you do shared circulation login, that's not going to help you too much because it will show just that login information.
Yeah, again, back over here in Nita's account, these all say checked out by BWS support because that's what I'm logged in as. I'm not logged in as Andrew. Mary asked, do we have to turn this on or will it just be there? You do need to turn this on. It is another new system preference. Record staff user on checkout. So this will be off by default, again, following that general design idea of don't change things, just make them able to be turned on. So at upgrade, this will be set to don't record. You can just pop over here and set it to record. And then my last thing is also a system preference. So let me grab that here. And it is circ confirm item parts, which at upgrade will be set to don't require, but you could set to require. This is to force staff to actively confirm that as you're checking items in, they have all of the parts the item that says they should have. So
Trevor's excited already.
It's a good one. All right, if I go back to Nita again, she's got when your monkeys won't go to bed checked out. If I look at when your monkeys won't go to bed at the item records, I can see this has a material specified note. Don't let the monkeys out.
All in caps too.
Yeah, it's important. That lives here in the item record. It's the 952 subfield 3. And in Koha now, current Koha, if there is a note here, it will pop up at check-in and checkout. And it shows on the screen and it might make a little noise. And we've got folks with jQuery to make it like really big or make it jiggle around to try to get your attention. But it doesn't actually stop the check-in. You can just breeze right by it if you want, which sometimes that's great when you have a lot of things to check in, but sometimes you really want your staff to slow down and make sure they're doing the thing. So let me grab this barcode and check that item in. And because I have my system preference set to confirm this, it pops up a little pop-up and makes a little monkey noise optionally. You don't have to make a monkey noise. And yeah, if I don't say yes, it does not check the thing in. If I say no, it stops. If I keep scanning more things in, it just doesn't scan.
So Stephanie, the most important question that's come up, Stephanie, yes, we do actually have a blog post on how to add the monkey noise. So you can do that. Catherine wants to know, does this show up on self-check, Andrew?
Don't believe it does. Let me
double check. This doesn't show to patrons at all, does it?
No.
No.
Because we don't trust the patrons to check how many discs are in the audiobook.
So, and that's, again, that is one of those things that Andrew kind of referred to. You might want to think a little bit. We see a lot of libraries that do use that material specified note for all sorts of things in there. So if you are interested in using this and you don't want your staff being stopped at every single check-in and check-out, we're happy to create a report for you that will show you those items that do have something in that field and you can edit appropriately. So just kind of a heads up on that one. But we've had so many people ask for this, y'all. I know y'all have too.
But Donna's point is well taken. Because this material specified note has not been super impactful at check-in, it just pops up a thing that you can easily ignore. I know we have partners who have data in that note that's probably not super necessary and might become more annoying if suddenly that's really a confirmed thing rather than just a little warning. So be careful with that. Let us know if you need any help finding those things and editing. But
for all those long-term Koha users out there, for holds, you could easily bypass it until like the 16 release, I want to say. So a hold, you could just continue checking in. So it's good to see this growth of like, we want to use this field. It's super important, but we want people to make sure they're acknowledging I have checked the disks.
Yeah. Mary, that pops up on the screen just as you check something in or as you check something out. It does that overlay right there. It's a yellow box now instead of the little blue one that used to come through. And that is the thing, is that there's, yeah, it's so exciting.
And again, that's the value in the 952.3, the material specified field.
Sorry, Mary. Yep, 952.3. So Andrew already answered that right as I was telling you the other thing. So yeah, you just go ahead and put that in your 952.3, your item level. George says, and this is a good point. I don't know if you've, Andrew, of course you probably have tested this. There's also a check-in message in your item type level. How does that all work together? Because I know with that, you can make it a stopper too. Oh no, not a stopper. You can make it a yellow one, but.
Yeah, I don't believe this works with that.
Okay.
Although now I'm doubting myself. I'll double check that and put it in the chat.
Because I can see where George is going. Am I going to get 2 of these?
Yeah, well, and also in the item type, yeah, we could say maybe say on our audiobooks, always give a check-in message of make sure the discs are there. And then we don't need to put it in each individual record, each individual item, but I don't think this is gonna get enforced the same way. Again, I'm about to hand the baton off to Kelly, so I'll go test things.
So, and T brought up a great question too. So like using this for Chromebooks and things like that, where it's look for the adapter, the cord, the blah, 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 blah. So if I have, I don't know, 100 Chromebooks that I need to add this to, I don't want to do them one by one going into the 952.3. So how could I do that?
Oh, that'd be a real easy report to find all those Chromebooks and then send them all to item batch modification to put that note in all of them in one big go.
Perfect.
I forgot I had turned off my screen share. Here's my item type and my check-in message that I'm going to verify whether or not that triggers the same confirmation box, but I don't believe it does.
Perfect.
But
Okay.
if it doesn't, it's nice to know you have the option to have a note that doesn't require the confirmation potentially from the item type level, but for the individual item in that subfield 3, you have that stop.
And Mary, this is one of those that we do have slated for a blog post because there's so many moving pieces with it and different options and things like that. So yeah, there'll be a blog post coming not too long.
All right. And with that, Kelly's going to talk about some tech services stuff.
Woohoo!
Whoop, whoop, whoop. So I'm going to talk to you all about tech services. I have a few, and then I'm going to pass it on to Sarah. The one that I'm going to start with is probably the most popular one coming to the cataloging group, and that is the ability to create matching profiles when importing files. So for all those libraries that are using that stage mark records for import, and you're importing a variety of different files for a variety of different reasons, and you have a different process for each, you can now create a profile or kind of a template, another Koha word that we all know, to say, apply this specific function to this import. So this is fantastic. This will show up when you go ahead and grab something to import. So let me grab my mark file, upload. You will see a new box here to use a profile setting. When you first get your upgrade, there will not be any profiles. You will need to save a profile. So we're going to bypass this middle section and then move on. If I fill out these following fields with my regular, maybe large print import, I would go ahead and make sure that every time I do this type of import, I want these settings picked. I can make sure the record type is bibliographic or authority. Question from Wednesday was, does this profiling work for both? It does. Those OCLC imports, those are sometimes Mark 8. So it's good to know that you can set that during the profile. You can apply a template in this profile as well. So again, I want to do this exact thing every time I do a vendor from maybe Gale, or what is the large print, Thorndike?
Thorndike.
Record matching rule. So you can say, okay, I want to always for this specific profile match on 020 and make sure I have my actions for those matching records set up. And at the bottom, I could say Thorndike. If I hit save here, Koha is going to remember everything I filled out on this form. So the next time I import another file, I can say, this is my Thorndike profile and apply that. Let me tell you how many probably notes people have to know the settings for each specific file they're importing, because they get something from Ingram and they do something specific, or their ebooks, or a specific vendor or anything like that. This is so exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and just stage this, and then I'll go back and show you when you apply a profile, what happens. Okay, so I did it. Let me do it again. If I go ahead and choose my Thorndike, I will then see that these are picked correctly. My mark modification template has been applied and my matching rule has been set up. So now it's set it and forget it. You won't have to remember each of those settings. These profiles are based on your Koha system. So all the people that do any cataloging in this batch import specifically will see all the same profiles. So you can see I have lots of profiles here that I can choose from. If there are any profiles you want to remove, maybe you set it up wrong, you can go ahead and remove a profile. The controls right now are just permission-based for people who use stage mark records for import is the permission. So if your staff member can import a file, they can create a profile. So this is fantastic. I'm really excited for you all, because I know this is probably the biggest thing, is if somebody's doing a job that they're not usually doing and they're following notes really specifically, this could cause some havoc if you set one of these wrong. So this is great.
Kelly, Mary has a good question. Can they mess up a created one?
Well, no, there's no way to edit it. If you set a profile, so I set a profile, I can still change it, but you're not affecting that profile. You are not resaving. If I resaved it, I'm probably overlaying it, but you can either save one or remove one. Does that make sense?
Or just save over it, which I guess is editing it, but without an edit button.
Right. Yeah. However, okay, so I'm going to, let's do this.
Correct. Yeah. One staff member could change or delete a profile owned by or created by another staff member.
Well, okay. So say I went to the Thorndike one and then I changed it to authority.
Mm-hmm.
If I staged for import, I have not changed that Thorndike profile because I didn't hit save, in my opinion. So they would need to pick a profile and then save it again to overlay it.
Does it prompt for a new name by any chance?
Nope.
Okay. And so again, like some of these things, this is the first blush that we put them into Koha. So we're already identifying probably a list of bugs, enhancements that we're going to want to add to it to say, make this controlled by permissions or things like that.
Yeah. So when I used that Thorndike, but changed it, my original profile is still correct. It did not default to authority because I didn't resave it. So I have to overlay it if I hit that save, but if I don't, I don't. But you won't, probably have notes on those too.
Yeah.
Yep. So a good reason for y'all to get involved in the Koha community and file a bug to say how you want it to work better the next time, or to add a permission, or to adjust it some way. So that's the best part about these upgrades, is y'all have different ways to see these enhancements and features work for your library.
And George said he's already working on the jQuery. So, but again, this is one that, yes, I can see an enhancement request being filed to allow permissions for those sorts of things, just like with mark modification templates, who can change those, who can, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah. Okay, the next two that I have to talk about are for purchase suggestions. So for those libraries that are allowing patrons to make purchase suggestions on the Opac, there is now a new system preference that allows you to remove fields that you don't want your patrons to fill out. I can remember when we added the quantity to a purchase suggestion field, and we had an uproar, just like we just had an uproar about our profiles, to say we don't want quantity included. And therefore somebody filed a bug and said, wouldn't it be great if we did XYZ? So wouldn't it be great if we had the power, other than using jQuery, to modify what that suggestion form appears as? So there's a new system preference called Opaque Suggestion Unwanted Fields, and you can go ahead and pick and choose the fields you don't want your patrons to see or fill out. So you can see I have my quantity hidden. Maybe I don't want them to be able to create a note, and I've hidden my publication place and publisher name. Once those have been applied, when your patron comes in to the Opac and makes a purchase suggestion, they will not see those fields. So super easy to be able to customize how this purchase suggestion is formatted for your set of libraries.
Excellent. So much easier.
It definitely eliminates jQuery, because as we remember, the quantity is one of those jQuery things.
Yep.
The other purchase suggestion is more geared towards staff, and that is the staff of a multi-branch system. Prior to this upgrade, when there were purchase suggestions stored in your staff clients, where you can see them here, you would just see the number of pending suggestions for the entire system. But when you clicked into that, you may not find any because they were for another branch. So this bug, which is called counts of suggestions are confusing, will allow me as the user of the East branch to be able to just see my specific branch pending suggestions versus having to hunt them down through the filtering system. So I can see the count for all the branches, and then I can see the count for the branch that I'm logged into. I also have the ability to see others, but this is going to bring me right to my specific branch, which time saver, George has long needed, much appreciated, to be able to hunt down those purchase suggestions. So really fantastic. I love to see when people are excited about things like this, because you've asked and the community has provided.
And it's like we always say, those extra clicks, it doesn't seem like much, but it adds up. So this is really, really exciting to see this one too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's all I have.
I love when people get excited about these little things like we do too.
I do too. I love the positivity. I love to see the Koha community just drive forward and make these fantastic improvements. And I'm sure the voices today will go ahead and file bugs what they want to see for tomorrow and the future.
Right. Is my screen showing up for everybody?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, great. All right. So I'm going to continue on the purchase suggestion theme. So the first one that we've got here is for modifying the purchase suggestion, the text on the purchase suggestion screen that patrons see on the Opac. So by default, you've got this screen. And as you may remember in the past, this also had to be jQuery if you wanted any sort of edits to this, but now it is part of the news tool, so it's a lot more convenient for libraries to either update yourself or let us know, and we're happy to update it as well. So you create it just like any other news entry. And for display location, you're going to choose Opac suggestion instructions. Now, if you have the Opaque News Library Select system preference set to allow or set to display individual libraries, you can select one branch or one location. Otherwise, it will by default show all libraries. So we can have a title here. I'm going to use the publication date. I'm going to skip the expiration date since it's going to be ongoing. And then just copy my text over. And so it's nice also because it's a simple editor. You don't need to do any coding to get anything in there. Although if you prefer to code it, you can do it that way. And then it's also really nice because you can make things bold, make things a different color. You can do some nice formatting depending on your color scheme. I want you to be 2. You can also insert links. So for instance, if you have a link to your library's ILL information, you can put that here. I'm going to link right here to a collection development policy. All right, and then once that is saved, you can see it shows up just like any other news item here. You can preview the content if you want. You can do all the regular editing things. And if I go back to my purchase suggestion screen, you can see now we've got the updated text. So we've got our new title and the color that I chose. We've got the link to the collection development policy. And the other nice thing about this is that if you delete this for any reason, you can just go ahead and delete it, and it will go back to the default text. So you're not going to have to worry about a situation where you end up with nothing there. All right. So next we've got one for cataloging. And this is an enhancement that allows you to create a custom order for subfields in any of your frameworks. And so we're going to set it up for the default framework. You can use it for other frameworks. You can also use it for authority records, and it applies at both the bib and item level. So can start here at the default framework, going to go into my mark structure, and I'm going to say that I want to rearrange the subfields in the 100 tag. So you go to the actions caret and then edit subfields. So we've got the default order here, and this is really nice because it's a simple drag and drop. So I can just pick this up, move it on over here. Same with anything else that I want to draw, rearrange. And then just save your changes down here. Couple of questions that came up in the first webinar. This is not going to rearrange any existing records at the bib level. When you open items for editing, those will be in the new order, existing items and of course new items, but otherwise it's only going to apply for new items that you create after you change the order. I'm going to rearrange some item subfields so we can see what it looks like here. So say for instance, if I'm manually scanning in barcodes and I want that, and we'll say some notes up at the top. Oops, it's not the one that I wanted. It does get a little funny with if you have 2 layers of tabs. So you might need to expand it on the larger screen if something is not moving where you quite want it to toward the end here. But once I've got those rearranged, again, I'm just going to save. So this will not apply, again, to already existing record, bib level records. It also will not apply for Z3950 imports or imports using the stage mark records for import tool. It seems like it should, because you do say in that you're applying a framework, but so far in testing, it has not done that. So now if I go to create a new record using that framework.
T has the question that you're just about to demonstrate, which is she wants to see how it's going to impact both the staff and the Opac views.
Okay, yep. So it's going to, if you rearrange it, if you either create a new record using the rearranged fields or rearranged fields once they are already there, it should show on the Opac. But we're going to, just for a little test. So you can see here, we've got the fields as they're rearranged in the framework. And yes, it is to help streamline the cataloging process. So you can arrange them however works for your workflow. Once you have information in here, as previously, it's going to save things that have information at the top. So if I have A and D, but not Q, Q is going to be below things with information in them. So I'm going to create a real quick one just so you can see what the item looks like. So one of Baltimore's more famous residents.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he's not from here, but he was here for a good part of his life, and I believe is buried here as well.
Can't remember who we had from Philadelphia, but I'm watching for them to jump up and yell.
What was that?
I said I don't remember who we had from Philadelphia, but I'm watching for them to jump up and yell about where Paul was.
All right, so we're gonna get that in there and click through. Just to get this saved. Oops. Just gonna throw some real quick in there so I can save this. Ah, thank you. All right. Now part of the Westminster Hall and Burying Ground. Okay, so now when I go to add an item, you can see that the barcode, non-public note, and public note are by default showing up in the order that we set in the framework. So again, you can make this whatever order works for you. You can set it up with different frameworks if you've got some item or some item types that you would want set up differently than others. And then the other thing I wanted to show here is if I go to an existing record, if I enter into edit, it is not going to show any, I mean, this does not have that data anyway, but this is not going to rearrange anything for an existing record for the bib level. But if I go into the item level, it does. So that's just something to keep in mind for that.
Sarah, we have a question. How does this affect the advanced editor?
That I would need to look at and get back to you. Yeah.
I think all three of us are going to say the same thing, but Kelly, you go first.
Yeah.
Well, for the advanced editor, you can put those subfields in any order you want when you're cataloging that.
Because it's not pre-populating the frameworks.
Exactly.
Right.
Right. But I can tell you it's not as easy as like dragging things around in the advanced editor because it's a different format.
Mm. All right, so,
Yeah.
okay. All right, well, thank you for having, I would have had to check on that, so thank you. And again, you can do the same thing for authorities. So if you are in your authorities frameworks and you want to rearrange those, you can do that there as well. And in my testing, when I rearranged the authorities frameworks and then looked at existing authorities, it did rearrange them similar to what it did for the item level. So it seems like bib level is the only one where it does not rearrange existing things. All right.
And we have a request for a blog post on that, Sarah, if you would add that to your ever-growing list.
Yeah, there actually is one
There
on
is
this.
one.
Yep.
Mhm.
Is there? Okay, perfect.
I just put it in chat.
Oh, thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome. Yeah,
Uh,
it's very nice. Lots of screenshots for you all.
Very lots of screenshots. And if there's anything, that we find out more about it, of course, it'll be updated. But all right, so the final one that I have is for inventory, and there is going to be a Monday minutes coming out on this. So I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but it's also relatively straightforward. So this is if you are using the shelf list version of inventory, where you're creating a list of what should be available and then going either printing that out or taking it on an iPad to your device or to your shelf and comparing that against what is actually there. So if you, depending on how you have things set up, the configuration previously or the options previously were library and then shelving location, which for some libraries works, but sometimes item type is a release filter to have as well. So for instance, in this example, I want to look at everything at the main library in the adult section, but only my audiobooks, because my audiobooks are all together and there are not so many that I need to separate them out by running a call number range or by splitting up with any other division. So now you've got this option right here, just to click on audiobook. And then we can submit. And it's going to give me the list of everything by that item type and that shelving location. So it's just another convenient way to break things down depending on what works for your library. But again, the Monday minutes will go into even more detail on this, so keep an eye out for that.
That's exciting because I know there are some libraries that interfile item types and they only want to do the inventory on that particular item type. So I think this is going to be really exciting for folks.
This is a bug from 2010.
Oh my goodness.
It's a very low number bug.
Wow.
4037. So it's amazing this hasn't been filtered yet by item type.
Is that the oldest one, the oldest bug in these releases?
I think so.
I don't know. We can look.
I was just curious. I know we typically look to see which one is the oldest bug that's been done. So that sounds like that might be one that's
yeah, could be.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So we have 10 minutes left. I'm only going to take up a couple of minutes and then we'll be able to answer any questions that you might have. Before we move on, though, I do want to remind everyone we are having a couple of Q&A sessions in 2 weeks. So not next week, but the week after. We'll go ahead and have 2 Q&A sessions where you'll actually be able to talk at those. So it'll be opportunities for you to come in and say, hey, I tried doing this and it does this. So, or this one doesn't work the way that we expect it to. So it'll be a great time to go ahead and chat and just, see what's going on with all of those. So we do ask you to please come and ask questions, because otherwise the 4 of us are going to just have to kind of chat amongst ourselves, and that gets kind of weird sometimes. So go ahead and make sure that you see those on the registration page for the webinars. That's all in that one spot. Okay, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. And the first one that I have to talk about is a very a very simple one, but it's already tripped me up at least twice today. So this thing that we are looking at right now goes by a lot of different names. We have people calling it the back end. We have it calling the staff view, the staff client, all of those sorts of things. Koha is doing its best as a community to make language consistent. So this is now called the staff interface, the staff interface. So when you're talking about it, remember it's the staff interface. Like I said, Kelly's already caught me twice on it today. So it'll take us all a little adjustment, but that way we have that consistent language. And that is one of the things that the community is trying to do, because I know I get so frustrated of, am I looking for reserves or am I looking for holds right now? So we're trying to come through and make that language consistent as we do things. So just a little thing. Any of y'all that use acquisitions, I think you're gonna love this next bug or enhancement. Here on my orders by fund report on the left-hand side, I now have some options to go, calling it Tim. I now have some options once I run that report to go ahead and do some things with it. So for instance, I do have my columns in here, my column settings that I can go ahead and do those. I have my export functionalities also, so I can go ahead and set that up. So, for instance, if I need to sort by, what is the thing that I've waited for the longest, my orders, when were my first orders set in there? I have my filters that I can go ahead and do this, all of that great stuff. So again, just kind of a neat way to make these a little bit easier for y'all as you're doing those acquisitions and make, addressing those sorts of things. So that's just kind of a small one, but I love this. John, this new release is going to be installed in November. We haven't gotten the exact schedule down, but we're going to start that in November. The early adopters do have it now. So if you like having early access to all of these things, you can always join our early adopter program. It's not too painful, I promise. And if you're concerned about it, we can connect you with some of the folks that are early adopters and they can kind of give you a heads up on what's involved in that. But for the general partners, you'll be getting that in November. So we're pushing to have it earlier rather than later because we know we didn't do that spring release like we normally do. So
and you'll get a little notice on your staff interface if this will be your first upgrade, bolded in red with the date, and it goes out about a week ahead of time.
So Mary, that's actually a really good point. What we encourage people to do, and I hadn't wrapped up the spiel yet at the end of the session, which I probably should have moved it earlier. The test site, no, it's good because I probably would have forgotten. The test site, our demo site is on 2105 right now. So for any of y'all that want to go in there and kind of explore and you don't have access to a test server or you're not an early adopter, hit our demo site. And I can see Kelly's already copying and pasting to put that into the chat. That is a site that you can always go to. It's on the latest release. Logins are very easy. It's Bywater, excuse me. Bywater. You can get into the staff client and to the Opac and try all these things out. So yeah, definitely give that one a shot.
It's the staff interface, Donna.
Oh, I did it again. I'm gonna have to put like a big sign in front of me. All right, so this last one, I want to go ahead and give y'all a look at. This is something that we have some very heated discussions amongst ourselves about how holds should work. And I know Kim has been involved in some of those also for Vocal. Any of the consortiums, there's a lot going on with holds and a lot of opinions on how holds work. One of the things that's changed is if you are trying to place what's considered an illegal hold, those often will not show up. There's all sorts of issues with them. So we're trying to find ways to make it more obvious that no, you really should not be placing that hold because something's different with it. So in our drop downs now for when we are placing holds, okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and place a hold on this one. Let's go ahead and give this to James again. Okay. If I go ahead and try to place a hold, if I'm using just a bib level hold, my pickup, you'll see that my bookmobile branch has the exclamation point next to it. It does give you a mouse over that says this is not allowed according to circulation rules. So it's a really great way to kind of let staff know, this is not something you should be doing. And then likewise down here at the item levels, it's going to show me what my allowed pickup locations are also, again, with that exclamation point, so that we can go ahead. You can make sure that you're not doing something you shouldn't be doing. So just, again, those little functionalities, we're really working with that whole system to try and make it work the way that we need to. We know that it needs improvements. And thank you to everyone who has been giving their feedback and talking to us about what we need to be able to make it do. And it's as Nick says, there's snakes in that room, so we're keeping the door firmly shut, but every once in a while we'll peek into there and see what we can do with it. So, Mary, you're right. It's not the same as seeing it on your own system. So we could definitely do some Q&A sessions in December of, hey, what's happening with that one. But I do want to encourage you all that as soon as you get that upgrade, if things are doing wonky stuff, and we use the example of if 1 + 1 is showing up as 3, that's a don't wait for a question. Go ahead and let us know so we can make sure that actually is working as intended. It does not do that on the Opac, Trevor, because on the Opac, patrons do not have the option to override a hold pickup location. So they are forced to just choose from those locations that are considering legal. So.
And over here on the staff interface, if you had the system preference allow hold policy override turned off, then staff wouldn't be able to do that override to break the rules either, and then they would see the illegal pickup locations.
Yeah, so it is a very specific combination. If you have override hold pickups turned on, and I have the permission to do this, it wouldn't let me do it. So, but I know, we've had conversations that at one point, I think we had made this not do this, and there was huge outcry over, no, we need to be able to violate hold policies. And so that started a whole nother conversation of, okay, well, what do we need to do with this? So lots of moving parts with this, but please always make sure you let us know what challenges you face with holds, and we'll see what we can figure out to be able to do those sorts of things. So, all right, that's a lot that we went through. Let's see, we have items that are not for hold, but do check out. I'm not sure how to do this except for not for loan. So actually, Hope, there is a system, not a system preference, there is a circ rule where you can say for all of my computers, they cannot be held, but they can be checked out. So if you want, give us a holler and we can kind of walk through that with you, but that is on your circ rules page that you have the ability to go ahead and say, no, I don't want any holds on these, but I do want them to be checked out. So. All right, so we have 2 minutes left. Y'all, what did I forget? Really quickly, do any of y'all have a favorite thing that we haven't talked about yet? I know mine. I'll go ahead while you're thinking yours. In the patron matching category, it used to be that you could only match patrons for duplicate checks on name and address, or name and phone, name and birth date. Now that is a system preference. And so you can designate what fields you want checked for that patron duplication. So that one I'm excited about. That's going to be a much better one.
I'm excited about the system preferences that you can now pick and choose versus having to type in all the database names. So for borrower mandatory field, borrower unwanted field, you can now present you with a list you can pick and choose from, which is nice, very nice.
And that was a Monday Minutes also.
That was a Monday Minutes.
Pam had a question about reports there. It sounds like you've essentially got your answer already. Yeah, if you've got a report that was looking for account type LR previously, you'd want to update it to look for debit type code lost and status returned. If you've tried that already and it's giving you trouble in some way, I'd say put in a ticket, and we can have a look at specifically what it is. I like George's different password links too.
Yeah.
And actually, that's on the second page of the agenda, there's a list of sponsored developments that didn't make it into this What's New list, which includes the different password links that George mentioned that was sponsored by Knuckles, which is a cool development. Right now, you can set strong passwords on and it applies to everyone. And a lot of public libraries aren't excited about making all of their patrons give a 8-character password with an uppercase and a lowercase and a special character. But now you could say, I don't want to do that to my patrons, but I want to do that to my staff. My staff needs a strong password for the staff side, but patrons can have a nice, easy pin, which is cool.
Yeah, I like that one too. What about you, Sarah? You're muted. There we go.
Of course I'm muted. I think a lot of my favorites have already come up. I do really like the password one. And just being able to click boxes instead of typing out the field names. Yeah, those are really some of my favorites also.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel about a 15-character password, George, but I do like just from a personal perspective, but I do like strong passwords for staff because they do have access to a lot of information and you want to make sure it's not hackable. Oh, as Susanna does 16, wow. Yeah, and actually Bywater does, I don't know, ours is probably about 16 characters and they are completely random. So it is just, I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. But I do love that ability. And again, coming from a public library background, there is no way we're going to convince our patrons to use strong passwords for their library accounts. They complain when it's anything more than just the last 4 of their library card numbers. So this is going to be a really great enhancement that we do have our staff have a stronger perspective on that one. Yeah, they do. Some of them complain about having 4 digits. So can I just enter my library card number? And it's like, no, you can't. So George says the next thing he's going to fund is password expiration and no passwords you've already used in the last XX days. I know those are good things. I just complain about them.
That sounds so responsible and so annoying.
I know. We use 2-factor authentication with a lot of our stuff, and you're just like, oh, geez, where's my phone? I can't log in until I do the 2FA, and I don't know where that is. And yeah, it's all good. It's all good. No. All right. I think we have hit everything here. So thank you all for staying with us. Thank you for your attention. We are really excited about this one again, because there's so many pieces that are being laid down for future developments and enhancements and things like that. So this is really exciting to us. As always, holler if there's anything that you have questions about. And again, we'll post these and we look forward to exploring 2105 together when it gets rolled out next month, y'all. So everyone have an awesome day.
And
Thanks,
weekend.
everybody.
And
Yeah,
weekend.
good weekend. That's right.